The chipped ceramic mug in my hands was the only thing keeping me tethered to reality. I stared at the dark liquid inside, watching the tiny ripples form as my hands trembled, and I wondered how many more days I could pretend that everything was going to be okay. My name is Mark Harrison, and I was a single father. I was also, according to every bank in the city, a man who had run out of options. The diner was called Rosie's, a crumbling institution on the edge of town that served the best grilled cheese sandwiches and the worst coffee in the state. It was our ritual, my daughter Lily and I, every Tuesday and Thursday evening. We would sit in the same booth, the one in the corner with the cracked vinyl and the wobbly table, and I would watch her eat her fries and tell me about her day. She was 7 years old with her mother's eyes, big and brown and full of questions, and a smile that could break your heart. Her mother, my wife Sarah, had died 3 years ago, a sudden cruel illness that had stolen her from us in the middle of the night. I had been a construction foreman then, a man with calloused hands and a steady income. But grief had unraveled me. I had lost my job, lost my savings, lost my way. Now I was a single father working 2 jobs to make ends meet, scraping together enough money to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table. I was a janitor at a downtown office building during the week, and on weekends, I worked as a delivery driver, hauling packages across the city in a beat-up van that had seen better days. It was a hard life, but it was my life, and I was determined to make it work for Lily. But Lily was sick. She had been diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease when she was 4, and every day was a battle. The medical bills were staggering, a mountain of debt that I could never climb. I had sold everything I owned, borrowed from everyone I knew, and still, it wasn't enough. I was drowning, and I didn't know how much longer I could keep my head above water. "I have to go to the bathroom, Daddy," Lily said, sliding out of the booth. "Don't eat my fries." "I wouldn't dream of it," I said, forcing a smile. "They're all yours." She skipped away, her small ponytail bouncing, and I watched her go, my heart aching with love and fear. She was the only thing that kept me going, the only reason I got out of bed in the morning. But I was failing her. I was failing her, and I didn't know how to stop. The diner was quiet, the usual evening rush long past. The only other customers were a few stragglers, a couple of truckers nursing cups of coffee, a group of teenagers laughing in the back. And then the door opened, and she walked in. She was tall and elegant, with dark hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail and eyes that seemed to see right through you. She was wearing an expensive suit, the kind that cost more than I made in a month, and she looked completely out of place in the dingy diner. She scanned the room, her gaze landing on me, and for a moment I felt like she was looking right into my soul. Then she walked toward me. She stopped at my table, her eyes searching mine. "Can I sit with you?" she asked, her voice soft and hesitant. I stared at her, my mind reeling. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Do I know you?" She shook her head, a sad smile playing at the corners of her lips. "No," she said. "You don't know me, but I've been watching you for a long time, and I think it's time we talked." I felt a chill run down my spine. "Watching me," I repeated, my voice shaking. "What are you talking about?" She sat down across from me, her eyes never leaving mine. "My name is Victoria Ashford," she said, her voice soft. "And I'm the one who's been paying your daughter's medical bills." The world tilted around me. I felt like I had been punched in the gut, the air knocked out of my lungs. "What?" I said, my voice barely a whisper. "That's not possible. The bills are paid by an anonymous donor. It's a charity, some foundation." "It's me," she said, her voice gentle. "I've been paying them for the past 3 years. I saw your story, Mark. I saw what you were going through, and I wanted to help." I stared at her, my mind racing. "Why?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Why would you do that? You don't even know me." She looked down at her hands, her expression unreadable. "I know what it's like to lose someone you love," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I know what it's like to feel like you're drowning, like there's no way out. And I know what it's like to be saved by a stranger." I felt tears prick at the back of my eyes. I don't understand, I said. Why now? Why are you telling me this now? She looked up at me, her eyes filled with tears. Because I need to ask you something, she said. I need to ask you for something, and I need to know if you can forgive me. Forgive you, I repeated, my voice shaking. Forgive you for what? She took a deep breath, her hands trembling. I didn't just pay your bills, she said, her voice barely a whisper. I made sure you couldn't get any other help. I made sure you were dependent on me. I manipulated your life so that you would have no choice but to accept my help. I stared at her, my mind reeling. What? I said, my voice rising. What are you talking about? I was lonely, she said, her voice breaking. I was so lonely. And when I saw your story, I saw a way to be a part of something, a way to be needed. I made sure the other charities couldn't help you. I made sure you had no other options. And I've been watching you ever since. I've been following you, Mark. I've been obsessed with you. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. You've been stalking me, I said, my voice shaking. You've been manipulating my life. I know it's wrong, she said, her voice desperate. I know it's unforgivable, but I couldn't stop myself. I needed you. I needed to be a part of your life. And I thought if I could just get close to you, if I could just make you see me, everything would be okay. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. I need to go, I said, my voice cold. I need to take my daughter and leave. Please, she said, reaching out to grab my hand. Please don't go. I know I've made mistakes. I know I've done terrible things, but I'm trying to make it right. I'm trying to be honest with you. Please give me a chance. I pulled my hand away, my heart pounding. I don't know what to say, I said, my voice barely a whisper. I don't know how to process this. She nodded, her eyes filled with tears. I understand, she said. I understand if you hate me. I understand if you never want to see me again. But I need you to know that everything I did because I cared about you, because I wanted to help you, because I wanted to be a part of your life. I looked at her, this woman who had been my secret benefactor, my anonymous angel. And I felt a wave of conflicting emotions. Anger, hurt, confusion. But beneath it all there was something else. Understanding. I knew what it was like to be lonely. I knew what it was like to make mistakes. I knew what it was like to be desperate for connection. I don't hate you, I said, my voice soft. I don't think I could ever hate you. You saved my daughter's life. You gave me hope when I had none. And I'm grateful for that, but I need time. I need time to process this. She nodded, her eyes shining with tears. Take all the time you need, she said. I'll be here. I'll always be here. The days that followed were a blur of confusion and emotion. I couldn't stop thinking about Victoria, about her confession, about the secret she had been carrying for so long. I was angry, yes, but I was also curious. I wanted to know more about her. I wanted to understand why she had done what she did. And so I started to investigate. I asked around, did some research, pieced together the fragments of her life. What I found shocked me. Victoria Ashford was a billionaire, the CEO of Ashford Industries, a massive corporation that had been built by her father and expanded by her. She was a legend in the business world, a woman who had clawed her way to the top through sheer determination and willpower. But she was also a woman who had been through hell. Her husband had died in a tragic accident, and she had been left alone, childless, with nothing but her empire and her grief. She had been searching for something, a connection, a purpose, and she had found it in me, in Lily, in our little family. I didn't know how to feel about that. I didn't know if I could trust her, but I also couldn't deny that she had done something incredible for us. She had saved my daughter's life, and that was worth something. A few weeks later, I reached out to her. I called her, my heart pounding, and asked if she wanted to meet for coffee. She agreed, her voice filled with relief and hope. We met at a small cafe, a quiet place where we could talk without being overheard. She was nervous, her hands trembling, her eyes filled with fear. "Thank you for agreeing to see me," she said, her voice soft. "I know I don't deserve this." "Maybe you don't," I said, my voice gentle. But I want to try. I want to understand. I want to see if we can build something from this. She looked at me, her eyes shining with tears. I don't know what to say, she said. I never thought you would give me a second chance. Everyone deserves a second chance, I said. Everyone deserves to be forgiven. The months that followed were strange and wonderful. Victoria became a fixture in our lives, a presence I had never expected. She was there for Lily's doctor's appointments, her school plays, her birthday parties. She was there for me, too, a shoulder to lean on, a friend to talk to. And slowly something else began to grow between us, something I hadn't expected, something I didn't dare name. I was falling in love with her, and I was terrified. She was a billionaire, a woman of power and influence. I was a single father, a janitor, a nobody. Why would she ever want me? But she did. She told me one night, her voice soft and hesitant. I know this is crazy, she said. I know this is impossible, but I can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop feeling this. It's like you've opened a door in my heart that I thought was sealed forever. I looked at her, this woman who had once been my secret benefactor, and I felt my own walls crumbling. I feel it too, I said. I've felt it for a long time. I was just too afraid to say anything. I was too afraid too, she said. I was afraid of being hurt again. I was afraid of being rejected. But with you, I feel safe. I feel like I can be myself. We kissed, a soft, tentative kiss that turned into something more, a promise, a beginning. The years that followed were the happiest of my life. Victoria and I built a life together, a beautiful, chaotic life filled with love and laughter. Lily grew up, a happy, healthy teenager who adored both of her mothers. Victoria and I got married, a small, intimate ceremony on a private beach, surrounded by our closest friends. I looked back at the journey that had brought us here, the single father who had been drowning in debt, the billionaire who had been drowning in loneliness, the secret that had brought them together, the love that had healed both of them. It had all started with a simple question. Can I sit with you? The billionaire had asked the single dad, unaware that she had been his secret donor for years, and that question had changed everything. I smiled, my heart full. I had found my forever, and I was never going to let it go. But life, as I had learned, was never that simple. Just when I thought we had found our happily ever after, the universe threw us another curveball. It was a Tuesday afternoon, 5 years into our marriage. I was in Victoria's office going over some files when my phone rang. It was Lily's school. My heart seized in my chest. Mr. Harrison, the principal said, her voice strained. There's been an accident. Lily fell during recess. She's been taken to the hospital. I dropped the phone, my legs giving out beneath me. Victoria caught me, her arms strong and steady. What happened? She asked, her voice urgent. It's Lily, I said, my voice barely a whisper. She's in the hospital. The drive to the hospital was a blur. Victoria drove, her knuckles white on the steering wheel, her jaw clenched. I sat in the passenger seat, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Lily was my entire world. The thought of losing her, of losing another person I loved, was unbearable. We arrived at the emergency room to find Lily conscious but pale, her arm in a sling, a gash on her forehead. The doctors said she had fallen from the monkey bars, breaking her arm and suffering a mild concussion. She would be fine, they assured us. She would make a full recovery. But as I looked at my daughter, her eyes filled with tears, I realized how fragile life was, how quickly everything could change. And I realized that I couldn't take anything for granted, not my happiness, not my love, not my family. That night after Lily had fallen asleep, Victoria and I sat in the hospital room holding hands. I was so scared, I said, my voice shaking. I thought I was going to lose her. Me too, Victoria said, her voice thick with emotion. But she's okay. She's going to be okay. I looked at her, this woman who had become my everything. I love you, I said. I love you so much. I love you too, she said, squeezing my hand. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you and Lily are safe and happy. I promise. But promises, even the ones made with the best intentions, can be broken. A few months later, Victoria's past came back to haunt us. Her husband's family, the Ashfords, had been trying to destroy her for years, blaming her for his death, for the secrets she had kept, for the love she had hidden. They had been spreading rumors, planting evidence, building a case against her. They were determined to ruin her, to take everything she had built. I knew I had to do something. I had to help her. But I was just a janitor, a former construction worker. What could I do? And then an idea came to me. I had been investigating the Ashfords for months, using my downtime, my nights, to dig into their past. I talked to people, pieced together clues, followed the money. And I found it. I found the evidence they were trying to hide, the documents they had forged, the trail of lies they had left behind. I brought it all to Victoria, my hands trembling, my heart pounding. I found it, I said. I found proof of their scheme. You can use this to stop them. She stared at the documents, her eyes wide with shock. How did you do this? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. How did you find all of this? I was a construction foreman, I said. I know how to find things that are hidden. I know how to follow the trail. She looked at me, her eyes filled with something I had never seen in them before. Gratitude. Thank you, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Thank you. The battle was vicious. Victoria took the evidence to the authorities and the Ashfords were arrested, their scheme exposed. It made the news, a scandal that rocked the business world. Victoria was hailed as a hero, a woman who had fought back against corruption and won. But she didn't take the credit. She gave it to me. She told the press that she had been saved by a janitor, a man who had risked everything to help her. Suddenly, I was famous. My picture was in the newspapers. My name was on everyone's lips. I was no longer invisible. But the biggest secret was yet to be revealed. One night, Victoria sat me down, her eyes filled with tears. "There's something I need to tell you," she said. "Something I've been hiding from you for a long time." I looked at her, my heart pounding. "What is it?" I asked. "You can tell me anything." She took a deep breath, her hands shaking. "The reason I became your secret donor," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "It wasn't just because I was lonely. It was because I knew you. I knew your wife, Sarah." I stared at her, my mind reeling. "What?" I said, my voice barely a whisper. "How could you know Sarah?" "We were friends," Victoria said, her voice breaking. "We were best friends growing up, and then something happened, a falling out. I did something terrible, I betrayed her, and she cut me out of her life. I never got the chance to apologize. I never got the chance to make things right." I felt the blood drain from my face. "What did you do?" I asked, my voice shaking. Victoria looked at me, her eyes filled with guilt and sorrow. "I fell in love with her," she said. "I was in love with your wife. And when I told her, she was disgusted. She couldn't handle it. She pushed me away, and I never saw her again." I sat there staring at her, my mind racing. Sarah had never told me about Victoria. She had never mentioned a best friend, a falling out, a secret love. She had kept it all hidden, buried deep where no one could find it. "Why didn't she tell me?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Because she was ashamed," Victoria said. "She was ashamed of what happened. She was ashamed of me. She wanted to forget it ever happened." I looked at this woman who had once been my secret benefactor, who had become my wife, and I felt a wave of conflicting emotions. Anger, hurt, confusion. But beneath it all there was something else. Understanding. "I don't know what to say," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I don't know how to process this." "You don't have to say anything," Victoria said, her voice soft. "I just wanted you to know the truth. I wanted you to know why I did what I did. I wanted you to know that everything I did because I loved Sarah, and I loved you, and I wanted to make things right." The years that followed were a journey of healing and rebuilding. Victoria and I worked through our past, our secrets, our pain. It wasn't easy. There were arguments, tears, moments when we both wanted to give up. But we didn't give up. We kept fighting for each other, for our family, for the love we had built. And slowly we found our way back to each other. The secrets were out. The past was laid to rest, and we were finally free. One day, years later, I found myself sitting in the garden, watching the sunset, Victoria by my side. The years had been kind to us, and our love had only deepened with time. "I never thought I would have this," I said, my voice soft. "A family, a life, a love like this." Victoria smiled, her eyes shining with tears. "Neither did I," she said, "but we found it, despite everything, despite all the odds." I took her hand, my heart full. "I love you," I said. "I love you more than I ever thought I could love anyone." "I love you too," she said, squeezing my hand. "Forever and always." I looked at her, this woman who had once been a stranger, who had once been my secret benefactor, who had once been my wife, and I realized that I was grateful for all of it. Every tear, every fight, every moment of pain, because it had led us here, to this moment, to this love. "It all started with a question," I said, my voice soft. "Can I sit with you?" And that question changed everything. Victoria laughed, a soft musical sound. "It did," she said. "It changed everything." We sat there, holding hands, watching the sun dip below the horizon. And I knew, with a certainty that burned in my chest, that I had found my forever. I had found my family, I had found my love, I had found my home. And I was never going to let it go.